Putin's generals just activated a plan they believed would end the war. In the Kremlin's most classified war rooms, Russian military planners had marked the shortest route to Ukraine's capital on blood-red maps, not through the heavily fortified eastern front, not through the mined southern approaches, but through the northern forest near Chernihiv, where a shadow army of 100,000 troops had been secretly assembled in Belarusian staging areas. The plan was elegant in its brutality. Hold the eastern front with minimum forces, then unleash a lightning strike from the north straight into Kyiv's undefended suburbs. Ukrainian President Zelensky would have 48 hours to surrender or watch his government collapse. Everything was proceeding according to Moscow's timeline. Russian logistics trains rolled north, artillery batteries repositioned under cover of darkness. The attack date was set for June 1, 2026. However, a critical detail Putin's strategists failed to anticipate completely shattered the entire operation, and that detail was hiding 600 miles away in a city most people had never heard of called Kupiansk. Ukrainian military intelligence had been tracking the Kremlin's northern buildup for months. Satellite photos, intercepted communications, defector testimonies. All of it pointed to the same terrifying conclusion. Russia was preparing to strike Kyiv again. But Ukraine's generals understood something Moscow's planners had missed. The 100,000-man Northern Army wasn't a self-contained force. It depended entirely on elite units currently fighting in the east, Russia's best tank divisions. Their most experienced motorized brigades, the contract soldiers who actually knew how to fight. All of them were locked in brutal combat around a single strategic city in eastern Ukraine. That city was Kupiansk. And if Ukraine could trap those forces there, Putin's northern offensive would collapse before it even began. The operation began on May 1, 2026, when the Oskol River ice finally melted. Ukrainian commanders had been waiting for this exact moment. The Kardia National Guard Brigade, specializing in urban warfare, moved into position on Kupiansk's western edge. Mechanized infantry from the 10th Army Corps established blocking positions along the river's eastern bank, cutting off Russian retreat routes. Elite FPV drone units, particularly the legendary Achilles Battalion, deployed their operators into concealed positions throughout the city. Ukrainian artillery batteries zeroed in on every bridge, every road junction, every possible escape route. The trap was set. Ukraine just needed to wait for Russia to commit its forces. And commit they did. Russian commanders, desperate to hold Kupiansk before redeploying north, poured reinforcements into the city throughout early May. The elite 6th Combined Arms Army from the Leningrad Military District, the 1st Guards Tank Army from Moscow, the 27th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade, considered Russia's finest infantry. Over 15,000 of Russia's best troops crammed into Kupiansk's streets, transforming hospitals into bunkers and apartment blocks into fortresses. They believed overwhelming force would secure the city quickly. Then they'd transfer north for the Kyiv offensive. But Ukrainian intelligence knew something the Russian generals didn't. Every elite soldier stuck fighting in Kupiansk was one less soldier available for the northern attack. The longer Ukraine kept Russia engaged in the east, the more time Ukraine had to fortify the north. The decisive moment came on May 16, 2026. Ukrainian forces launched coordinated assaults from 3 directions simultaneously. FPV drones swarmed Russian positions, their kamikaze strikes destroying armor faster than Russia could replace it. Artillery hammered supply convoys trying to cross the Oskol River bridges. Infantry cleared buildings room by room, using thermal drones to identify targets before assault teams moved in. The Russians fought desperately, knowing their entire northern offensive depended on breaking free from this trap. But every attempt to retreat was met with precision strikes. Every reinforcement convoy was destroyed before reaching the city. By May 20th, the last organized Russian resistance in central Kupiansk had been eliminated. Over 3,000 Russian soldiers were casualties. The rest scattered into small groups, trying to escape through forests and minefields. But the real victory wasn't measured in square kilometers of liberated territory. It was measured in what Russia lost and could never replace. The 27th Guards Motorized Brigade, the unit Moscow had designated to lead the northern assault on Kyiv, had been decimated in Kupiansk's streets. The 1st Guards Tank Army, which was supposed to provide armored spearhead for the offensive, had lost over 60% of its operational tanks. The 6th Combined Arms Army, responsible for securing supply lines during the Kyiv attack, was combat ineffective. Every elite formation Moscow needed for the northern operation was either destroyed, depleted, or still trapped trying to escape Kupiansk. Putin's June 1st attack date came and went. The Northern Army sat in its staging areas, waiting for units that would never arrive. Ukrainian intelligence estimates that Russia would need at minimum 40,000 experienced combat troops to have any chance of breaking through the Chernihiv defensive lines and reaching Kyiv. Those troops were supposed to come from the east after securing Kupiansk quickly. Instead, they were buried in Kupiansk's rubble or limping back to Russia for medical treatment. The replacement troops Russia sent north weren't elite contract soldiers. They were hastily mobilized conscripts with weeks of training, men who had never seen combat, boys who didn't want to be there. Throwing them against Ukraine's prepared defenses in Chernihiv would be suicide, and even Putin's generals knew it. By May 23, 2026, Ukrainian forces controlled all of Kupiansk's city center and had pushed Russian remnants back across the Oskil River. More importantly, Ukraine had successfully deployed 55,000 troops to the Chernihiv region, dug in behind 300 kilometers of fortified defensive lines, over 2,130 concrete bunkers, thousands of anti-tank obstacles, minefields stretching for miles, electronic warfare systems blanketing the border. The defensive network that would have taken months to prepare was now fully operational, and the Russian army that was supposed to attack it no longer existed as a capable fighting force. Putin's secret plan to capture Kyiv had collapsed not because Ukraine won a defensive battle in the north, but because they won an offensive battle in the east. The lesson is brutal in its simplicity. In modern warfare, you don't need to defend every possible attack route. You just need to identify which enemy units are critical to the attack and destroy them before they can be deployed. Russia's northern offensive required specific elite formations to succeed. Ukraine identified those formations, trapped them in Kupiansk, and systematically destroyed them. No elite troops meant no offensive. No offensive meant Kyiv remained safe. One city saved a capital. The question now isn't whether Russia will attack Kyiv from the north. The question is whether Russia still has an army capable of attacking anything at all. Because the forces destroyed in Kupiansk weren't just any Russian units. They were the last reserves of truly combat-effective troops Moscow had left. And Ukraine just spent 3 weeks turning them into casualties.